civilization where my ancestors come from. That's why I reappropriated the word yellow and don't use Asian, because that's a government designation. For people in Asia, they don't call themselves Asian. They call themselves whatever tribal group they're at. So that's why I say yellow, just like some black people call themselves black and some brown people call themselves brown. So there's a reason why I'm specifically say yellow. People like John Chu, M. Chu, and Bowen Yang, those people who work in global Hollywood and have gotten the official approval out of the University of Southern California, where John Chu got his degree, USC, you pay your way in there, you get to move forward and anointed. And in part of the gay mafia that runs the operation there. I call him Asian. I call him Asian American. That's what he calls himself. I'm not that. I am ghetto. I'm yellow. Say it loud. I'm yellow and proud. Just like
guys,
Jim Carrey was doing a little impression of James Brown. Did you catch that?
Yeah,
Toward
I
the
live
end?
in America.
Exactly. That was James Brown who said, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. I say it loud, I'm yellow and proud. Deal with it. Make a movie about my life, not some wizards. I am the wizard.
You certainly got the wizard's beard. All right, viewers, please put your questions in the chat.
I'm the Oriental Gandalf.
Let's challenge Hamamoto, the deconstructor of icons.
Yeah.
Yes.
Put me on the hot spot. I love it.
Put him in the hot seat.
Yeah,
where do you get your kimono from? That's the first one.
Well, for one, it's not a kimono. This is a padded winter jacket. You can get it, I think, online somewhere. It was given to me as a gift, but this is MIJ, made in Japan. Not MIC, made in China, straight up made in Japan. And it's padded, cotton padding. It's good for winter.
All right, where was this question I've just lost? What is it?
Pardon my...
Okay. What is your taking on Gene Hackman's strange ending?
Well, hey, guess what? He was married to a yellow woman. It must be a conspiracy.
He was.
Huh?
That's true. Yeah, he was. That's true.
Yeah. She died, and she was not sick. She was early 60s, I think. He was 95, so if you're 95, it wouldn't be too unexpected. But she died, and their dog died. Is that a coincidence? Yeah, there he is. He's an actor's actor, Gene Hackman. And he's the antithesis of a Hollywood celebrity. He's actually an actor. And he came up the hard way. He's not a Nepo actor, nepotism. He's not the grandson of some banker who got him a job. He worked his way in. You can still do that in quote unquote Hollywood in certain areas, athletics. If you have talent, even if you come from less than privileged circumstances, at least in America, you can make it. I want to keep that channel open for everybody. Man, woman, gay, straight. I don't like children being groomed for certain purposes. 20 years henceforth. That was Gene Hackman. I forgot his wife's name. But they lived quietly, I think, in Santa Fe, which is a refuge of sort for people with money and artistic, creative backgrounds. Famously, D.H. Lawrence lived there for a while with Frida Lawrence because he was tubercular. It was good for his lungs. Betsy thank you very much. You got it. Betsy Arakawa. So she was Japanese American. She was of my generation. If she heard me on my channel or our conversation here, she would know what I was talking about because she lived it too, I'm pretty sure.
So they were saying then that she had the hantavirus and died a
I
week
heard
before
that.
him. And then he
Mhm,
was it Alzheimer's? He may not even known. And the dog was
mhm.
locked. One of the dogs was locked in a wardrobe or something. It's just all really
Yes.
strange, isn't it?
Quite
Even
strange, especially since he has managers and business people that handle his affairs. And I tend to side, and he hasn't said this directly, but he's implying strongly that there's foul play involved. And I'm alluding to, again, his name came up earlier in this conversation, Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid, the guy who talked about Star Whackers, he said that Gene Hackman had a very lively residual royalty stream coming in. And the Star Whackers like people like that. People who own recording properties, song publishing, people like Michael Jackson, Prince, those type feel that there's a reason why a lot of well-known songwriters sold their property recently to a company named Hypnosis. People like Bob Dylan sold part of his catalog. Neil Young. I think they're told there's going to be a crash, or they were giving a signal that sell us now. You know, you can do it the easy way. We'll get some cash for you, or do it the hard way. They want because these rights are almost forever copyrights, and that is Gene Hackman on the right with our late president Ronald Reagan, who doesn't look like Ronald Reagan. It looks like a stand-in. It looks like a wax dummy from Madame Tussauds. And of course, we know
well,
that he was target of an assassination attempt by a family friend of George H.W. Bush, John Hinckley.
Hinckley.
Yes, John Hinckley.
Bush, who happened to be his vice president.
Just happened to be. My gosh, we're talking like a bunch of conspiranoids.
Wasn't it you, Professor, with the adage, they're worth more dead than they are alive?
I can't take credit for that. My adage is, hey, it's all about the royalties. It's all about the royalty stream. And the musicians and actors, and they call that a mailbox money. You know, they're at home, they're not working, they're hanging out in Santa Fe, but the residual checks come into the mailbox, so to speak. You know, they just
Yeah,
collect the checks and cash it. Yeah.
that bullet from Hinckley stopped just short of his heart, didn't it? And
Yes, but
after
now
that,
I'm hearing that that might have been a dart.
hmm,
There's a
after
recent
that,
hypothesis being advanced that it was actually a poison dart because the
and
trauma
that,
surgeon that treated President Reagan at the hospital could find no bullet hole. But they did find something resembling a fletch. Is that what it's called? Sort of like a dart and arrow shot from
all I
an
know
angle
is
above. Yeah.
after the assassination attempt,
Yes.
Reagan pretty much signed over all of his powers to the Bush crime family.
He did?
And yeah. I mean, even
Okay.
while he was in the hospital, they were already drawing it all up.
All right. There you go.
I've written about this, folks, in my book, Clinton, Bush, and CIA Conspiracies. It is a
Pick that one up. I
fascinating
have almost
story,
all your volumes.
the Hinckley story. All right, you've got tons more questions have come in.
Please.
So let's get this one because it's a concerned mother. Anne, our daughter is in med school in Utah. She has been told that she will be unable to take out enough loans to finish. Is this to lower the prices of education? Any ideas?
Yes, medical education should be free, quote unquote. There's enough tax revenue generated to educate all people in the not just physicians, but nurses, people in the health professions, and we're going to need them because we've been purposely made into a sick and an ill population. We do need to be made healthy and whole again. But if I was the director of education, that would be one of my initiatives to make medical related, allied health, let's say, medical assistance, tuition free, but also make sure the universities were not inflating costs. No cost plus type arrangements, real costs to educate them. And of course, in exchange, they're going to have to perform public service according to a rationally based salary and benefits schedule. We can work out the particulars there. But there's no reason why in America, one of the wealthiest countries in the world, why we cannot train competent health professionals. We can do it and we will do it. But Linda McMahon is not going to do the job. People are mad at Pam Bondi, the FBI, the Department of Justice. Okay, she's one person. I think Department of Education is really where all the weaponization is taking place, like you've alluded to, Mr. Atwood, at the university, at K through 12. We should also decertify all the so-called teachers' unions. These are just extortion schemes anyway. Just like the labor unions have become nothing but racketeering writ large. Do you know how much those union labor people make? They're well into the six figures, and that's just their salary. They've got a lot of side hustles taking place too. Consultancies.
When I went to university here to do business studies economics, it was all free. But then war criminal Tony Blair got in and started putting all the students in debt for the benefit of his banking bankster backers. Absolute scum. All right, so you've got another question here from Katz. What's the antidote to the assault on uni education, grants or funding?
Neither. Immediately is self-education. Most of us are familiar with Amazon.com or a bookseller online. I don't have any stock in them, but that's who I use. Start buying the books of Mr. Atwood. He's done probably a couple dozen by now. Independent authors, Kirby Summers. You've had Kirby Summers on your show a few times. I've always enjoyed her appearances. She's written a number of books from a perspective, again, from an insider's perspective on what's really going down. And there's just two people. There's tons of people who are now have the opportunity to, and they're going around the publishing establishment, the publishing mafia, who are usually these trust fund babies like John Chu or Kevin Kwan, and they work at publishing. They keep people like us out, but you can publish your own work, but start reading, start buying the independent books. That's your education. Formal education, well, that's a long-term project, but it can be solved. The problem was artificially created under Tony Blair. They were following the Wall Street, City of London model, right? Mass indebtedness of the middle class, the aspiring, aspirational professionals of the future, including medical doctors, right? Put them in bondage, debt bondage, control them. We can work on that, but it's not going to happen with Linda McMahon at the helm. She should go back to championship wrestling with her husband and talk to Hulk Hogan and all these muscle heads in the bikini pants who go around throwing each other in these fake martial arts combats. Some of it's real, by the way. And notice, by the way, they call it mixed martial arts. They refuse to call it Asian martial arts, which is what it is. They call it mixed martial arts. And I know I'm going to get some muscle heads complaining about that.
All these half of these poor young people who came after me that ended up in debt bondage to get their degrees are still living with their parents because they can't afford housing now. It's an absolute travesty. So Bailey's put this question in quite a few times. One more time, Professor. Is Seke Take part of Okinawa Karate Miyagi? Serious question.
Okinawa Karate or Budo comes from China. That part of Japan, which is now Japan, was settled by people from mainland China. So it comes from those traditions over there. It went to Okinawa, the Ryukyu Islands, and went northward, and it was stolen by the mainland people, and they call it judo or karate or jujitsu, but it's originally a Chinese martial art. I don't know about Sekai Take. I don't know that school, but I lived in Okinawa for 1 year, and uh, it's really an integral part of the culture. The children do that. You know, they watch Wicked and all the Disney and Nickelodeon Japan version of it to teach them how to be good queers and emasculated Japanese who are not reproducing. Same with your South Koreans. They have a 0.7 reproduction rate. And all you see is queer K-pop stars coming out of there. That's purposeful, right? The eugenics people of the city of London and Wall Street, they're loving it. They love K-pop and J-pop. They want to see a whole feminized Asian world because it's a depopulated world. And also, most of East Asia was unconquerable by the Hazarians. They were in Shanghai or other parts of China. They were not allowed to go into Japan. The Dutch traders, mostly Jewish traders, who came to Japan in the 16th centuries, they were embargoed outside of Nagasaki in a little island, Deshima. And that's how Japan was able to compete with the colonizing West. And to answer your Bailey X's question, the martial arts was a part of a national resistance against these colonizing forces. So I think it's important that a nation maintain the martial spirit. And we can leave Vince McMahon out of it. We don't have to do UFC or so-called mixed martial arts or the caged octagon, whatever it is. And I watch a lot of it on YouTube, but it's really unnecessary. We can do it ourselves.
What did Adam Smith say in The Wealth of the Nations, Professor, about nations that do not maintain a martial spirit?
They get colonized.
Exactly.
And Britain never forgave the fact that the Japanese on bicycles came down to the Malaysian peninsula and took it away from them. They said, damn, those little buggers, how did they do that? Well, they've been trying to pay us back ever since then. Fukushima, earthquakes, psi powers, but now it's soft propaganda. I call it soft colonialism. It's the Disney movies. It's Nickelodeon Japan. And they're doing it to the South Koreans. The birth rate, they've already reached the demographic cliff. Pretty soon, there'll be no yellow people. Pretty soon, there'll be no Gentiles.
I've got something on my mind. I just need to do a quick poll. So viewers, put a 1 in the chat if you think the government should stop giving money to cokehead Zelensky and give all those billions upon billions to young people for education, because young people are the future of the nation. Put a 2 in the chat if you think our government should give Zelensky even more money to foment even more corpses on the battlefields of Ukraine, the blood sacrifice of over 1 million young people, destroyed rather than educated. Let's see what people say. We've got lots of ones coming in. Yeah. Good choices, folks. All right, next question is from B. How can we identify frauds, pop-up pundits? Because they all seem to be. They got that glazed Stepford wife, Bianca, Ariana eyes. The reading from teleprompters and AI.
Chat GPT and Grok. Well, I'm glad you're B. Is it B? B has identified that they all seem to be, because most of them are. You can tell if they're promoted on Joe Rogan, and then they go over to Alex Jones, and they make the whole circuit because they're being anointed. to be the next distraction. Another good way of doing it is that if you don't see Sean Atwood on this show, then they're a pop-up pundit. If he is on it, then they're for real.
Is the Steven Seagal dojo legit?
1 second. You haven't been on Joe Rogan, have you?
No, I've never.
That proves my point. If there's someone that Joe Rogan would want on his show with your background, and your writing, your track record, it would be you. Why aren't you on there? I think I know. Because you're too real.
Well, he's got a rule that you've got to go to his studio, and I'm banned from America for life. But he did have the guy who fled to Russia on. What was his name? I can't remember his name now.
Victor.
What was the guy who fled to Russia? The whistleblower who worked for intelligence.
Snowden.
Snowden. Yeah, he had him on. He had him on remotely.
Yeah, well, he could put you in on Zoom.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh!
Is this
guy is a martial artist? He is. He's not legit. He's. They talk about cultural appropriation. They should put his picture there under that little entry. That's Steven Seagal. His whole story, his whole legend is total BS. But that's true. Ever since they gave the role of Kwai Chang Caine to David Carradine instead of Bruce Lee, which they were supposed to, but they couldn't because he didn't want to be gay. He wasn't. Well, thank you, Star E Gucci. Thank you for joining the conversation here. I like these reaction videos, spontaneous combustions. I'd like to be put on the spot because I'm proving to you that I'm not Chat GPT. I am not Alexa. I'm all the way live.
Can you do the Alexa voice?
No, I don't even know what it is. I wouldn't have such a creature in my house. Okay. I'm glad he's free, finally.
Oh, well, you've been asked your thoughts on him?
Yeah. I think he's a hero. Yeah. I mean, it shows you the power of public support. He had mass public support. People didn't forget about him, just like we should not forget about Tommy Robinson and other political prisoners, because he lived to tell his story. He was able to rejoin his family after all those years. And it can happen. Same with the J6 people that were released not too long ago. Public pressure. And it happens because of public awareness, constant attention, calling out the authorities for it, and having our people in positions of power where we can exercise our political will. Yeah. My feeling is that we can't joke around a little bit. That we've become the other side. We've become a bunch of transgender terrorists. These humorless, violent
got 10
people.
minutes left. We've got 10 minutes left, folks, for you to get your final questions in for the professor. So, please do so. So, Rain Marie, do you think Trump was really shot in the ear?
No, he was shot in the ass. I think it was all just a hologram of Jim Carrey type of situation. So it was all fake. Anything good or positive or anything about winning and having a winning attitude and behavior, it's all fake, because a lot of the people on our side ostensibly are a bunch of losers and defeatists. And we don't want you in our movement. You can join the Democratic Party, or you can join Labor, or the Conservative, whoever the Tories. We don't want you. Go off in your corner and sulk and suck your thumb.
Thoughts on Dave McGowan?
Dave McGowan was a synthesis of a bunch of different people. I read all his books, and they all stylistically different. And his goal, his assignment was to obsess about so-called Laurel Canyon, just like people obsess about Hollywood, so that people won't look beyond David Crosby and Frank Zappa and Joni Mitchell, blah blah blah, woof woof. So I read the books, but I put them in that perspective. They're very entertaining, but so are a lot of books supposedly in quote unquote our movement.
Why does
Also, the flat
Elon say
earthers,
he,
Beatles, yeah.
Why does Elon
You,
say he can go to space if the moon landing was fake and anyone who goes will blow up and die in that belt?
that I don't know. I think it's more of a mystery is how come he doesn't really talk about the possibility of off-planet life. He's still using a very 20th, really actually 19th century Jules Verne concept of space travel, which is combustion, blow up, the Roman candle idea. I think if there's going to be interplanetary travel, it's not going to be done by blowing up stuff. It's going to be more like, teleportation, something like that. So
You,
that's Elon
you,
Musk. I mean, he's a businessman. You can just if you can get money by funding projects, whether they come to fruition or not, USAID proved that that's a business model. NASA called it a self-licking ice cream cone. The whole reason the project exists is because the project exists. And I think that's what SpaceX is, except for the so-called communication satellites. Those are real. And they're also dangerous so far as the surveillance state's concerned. So he doesn't get a total pass. We have to watch Mr. Elon Musk very carefully too.
so
But I think his heart's in the right place.
Deanne likes it when you dress up according to the show. Is there a theme or just when you feel like it? Love your baseball getup.
Well, since I was talking about yellow people today, I thought I would wear my little outfit here. But when I talk about sports, I do have, baseball cap and the jersey and whatnot. And if I'm meeting people who I need to show respect to, like our mutual friend, Ori Spado, well, I will wear a sports jacket because he's a dapper old school gangster, right? So I need to rise to his level of sartorial splendor, let's call it. But yeah, we're all in costumes, just like Jim Carrey says. We're all playing a role here.
How did you learn so much about different cultures?
Well, again, the education is the reading, it's traveling, it's trying to absorb as much as you can, listening to people, listening skills are very important to everybody, not just to pundits, not just to supposed educated people, but anybody in all walks of life. They have something important to tell us, right? And I've had all kinds of jobs, so I talk to everybody. I'm not shy about that. I don't care. I will just, I'm just being friendly and talking, and you just find amazing information about people's society, their culture themselves, their biographical information. Because as you probably figured out by now, I was always a wannabe novelist. So I always have a inquisitive approach to people and cultures. I want to know what makes it run, what makes it tick.
What's your most fascinating and enlightening travel story?
Oh my gosh, I have so many. I think my annus mirabilis, my miracle year, was 93 to 94 when I did a Fulbright fellowship at the University of Hiroshima. And it was almost like I was fated to go there because I was able to do research on the whole Hiroshima phenomenon, going back to the attack on that center. And I got to spend a whole year studying it. I still haven't published that book yet on it because none of the publishers in New York City, controlled by people who control John Chu and Kevin Kwan, They're mostly women from wealthy families, trust fund babies. None of them would publish my manuscript. So I'm going to have to do it myself eventually. But it'll require a rewrite and re-editing. So yeah, that in itself is a book, which is what I did. I have the manuscript, but no one wants to publish it. That's one of the reasons why I sound so bitter. Because this is the product of my life, my experience. It's just one of fighting these individuals, which I welcome to. I don't mind that. I don't shy away from it. I'm just telling you that it is a struggle. And if you're asking me questions about, this, that, and the other, tells me that you haven't really been tested yet. But it'll come to everybody. Even Ariana Grande will meet a test. She might be riding high now, but she will be at a point where she has to look herself in the mirror, just like Jim Carrey did. And Jim Carrey is a demonstration of how you can make a change. Not you, but any of us can make a 180-degree change. And one of the strategies, as someone alluded to earlier, one of your questioners, is through joking, through humor. It's subversive. He didn't take the interview seriously. He clowned that woman, and he was clowning the audience. But he was also sending us, people who know what's going on, a message saying, I'm with you. I get it. A very high context message to people who are aware. This is what Jim Carrey was doing. And you can do the same thing in your fiction, your poetry, music, songwriting, musicals even. I would like to see a musical, Broadway or West End, I don't care where it is, a musical that's not gay. Why do all contemporary musicals have to be queer? I don't get it. Are they not going to rest until the whole world is queer? I don't think so. It's beyond equality. Now they're moving to the next stage. Everybody has to be queer. It's compulsory homosexuality because they want to overthrow the so-called heteropatriarchy that comes right out of the university world. Not for long, because I'm going to become the secretary of the Department of Education. I'm not going to ban free speech, but I'm going to have students and young people laugh you out of the classroom saying, are you kidding? That's daddy stuff. That's dad talk. That's yacht rock. That's so old hat. We want something that speaks to us as young people in 2025. And I have a lot of faith in the young people that they're going to come up with some really revolutionary ideas right now, very soon. It's happening right now, because some of these people who are dictating what we should think at the University College, K through 12, those people are aging out. They're moving out. A new generation is coming in. And that's who I'm really addressing, saying, hey, there's a geezer like me who's out there. We're waiting to hear what you have to show us. You can be the next director of the first non-gay musical of the 21st century.
Professor,
Yes.
what can people look forward to on your channel in the coming week?
Well, I have a show coming up on Sunday, and I'll just give you a quick preview. I'm going to review this book, and it comes out of University of California Press. It's academic press, and it's called Cinema's Military Industrial Complex. And it talks about how all that we're seeing in cinema and by extension television and new media is actually a military operation. And there's some good cutting edge recent scholarship that provides the receipts. They're providing the evidence for the argument. I'm reading some very important. I want to share it with the wider audience, because we are, without noticing it, are being subjected to a military operation. In the U.S., there's a unit within the U.S. Army called 4th psychological, 4th Army Psychological Unit. That's just one of them. And their specialty is to figure out how to subdue targeted populations through what people call generically is mind control. And we already know that movies and television, new media are performing that function. We have to understand historically how it was set up. And I'm learning here. I mean, I knew this already, but now I'm getting details. We know that the U.S. Library of Congress started a special experimental division focusing on films back in the late 30s, right on the edge of World War II. And they were collecting films, for example, of Triumph of the Will. They were getting all these films from all over the world, and they had anthropologists analyzing them, not just to understand the enemy, but to figure out how to subjugate the American public itself. They said, yeah, we could learn from Leni Riefenstahl how mass movements work by watching her films. And that's where television, Germany pioneered radio and television. You know, they talk about paperclip, all that technology being transferred from Germany, Nazi Germany, Third Reich technology to the US. But that also includes television and radio, microphones, recording equipment. It went to Britain. EMI bought a lot of it, right? EMI was the parent company of Capitol, not Capitol, but you know, they ran the Beatles, for example. They did all kinds of equipment related to communications, stemming from going back to radar, which the British people pioneered. So I'm going to be talking about the military connection and in this conversation this Sunday immediately. That's on the agenda to answer your question.
Sounds amazing. Huge thank you for coming on. We always learn so much from you, and we really appreciate you spending this time with us. We hope that you will come back soon, and I will let you go while I close the show. So you take care, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you for the invitation, Mr. Atwood.
Cheers, Professor. Adios.
Cheers.
All right. What a fantastic guest. It's always such a delight to speak to the professor. I know there was still tons of questions outstanding. I'll put his YouTube link again in the live chat. Go over and pester him on his comments and tell him you came from over here. And please remember to subscribe. So we have got many people talking about Ryan Dawson and Lionel in the chat. So I'm going to reach out to Lionel in a minute and see if he will come on Saturday night at 9 p.m. He said he's got more to talk about regarding the phony, PR, BS, Epstein list was going to be released, and it was all a bunch of stuff we already knew. People in the chat also were mentioning Ryan Dawson. I have been speaking to him on Twitter this week, and I am going to message him as well to see if he will come on Saturday afternoon, because he's in, where is he now? Is it Korea? I think he's in Korea. So the time zone is a lot different from us. So it's usually an afternoon show with Ryan Dawson. And if you missed the show we did earlier today, perhaps you were in bed, wherever you are in the world, we had a fantastic show with a guest we've never had on before. His name is Alex Craner, and the video is called Hunter Biden, Burisma, BlackRock. Did Zelensky sell Ukraine's minerals to Starmer? Absolutely fascinating guest. He's up there with Scott Ritter and Colonel McGregor, etc., deconstructing the ploys of the banksters and Zelensky and NATO and Starmer, the co-conspirators in the bloodbath. And he laid it out with just brilliant research steeped in geopolitics. So if you missed that one early today, I urge people to catch that one. It was a real gem. And I'm going to go to bed shortly, spend some time with Jen and baby Ziggy. But we will be back. I'm going to be back on Saturday, hopefully, with those two streams. Ron's got his shows tomorrow. And then he's got some shows on Friday evening. But we've got a lot of other stuff pending that I'm going to try and work in the meantime as well. So thanks for tuning in. It's been such an absolute blast and such a fantastic vibe. There's just such good chemistry with the professor and you, the viewers, and all of your banter and all of your lovely questions and comments. And I just feel blessed that I'm able to just sit here and just have a laugh. What an easy job I have got. I am absolutely spoiled. So good night, folks.